Hello everyone, I'm Christophe Milin. I'm project advisor at CINEA in the unit dealing with life energy and life climate. I'm going to present two topics related to integrated home renovation services. So I will do a joint introduction and then I will dig deeper into the two different topics. So to start with, I just wanted to remind the general targets we have to reach climate neutrality by 2050, and that means reaching zero emission in 2050, which is extremely challenging. For the buildings, that means at least doubling the renovation rates and mainstreaming low energy renovation, so reaching very low energy consumption of buildings. The Commission estimates that to achieve that, we need at least 90 billion euros to be invested each year over the next 30 years on top of what is already been invested. So a huge challenge ahead. Which ultimately rely on decision of private individuals. If we look at the stock of residential buildings, most of the stock is actually owned by private individuals. Nearly 70% of individuals own the home where they live in, and even for the 30% remaining percent, very large share of the stock that is rented actually belong to private individuals. With large variation depending on member states. So in the end, we rely on decision by you and me, by individuals. Their demand for refurbishment can be incentivized. We can provide them information. We can provide them subsidies to improve their interest in refurbishing, or we can also consider some levels of constraints by, for example, requiring minimum performance standards for housing. But in either way, these homeowners needs to be accompanied. Because the key question, if we want to achieve our objectives, is why do people not renovate their home at the moment? And we have to admit that they do not. And maybe, so there is a large literature explaining the lack of information related to home renovation. There is also a large literature related to the lack of profitability for energy investment. But maybe the question is also that maybe people do not renovate their home because it's just too complicated and too cumbersome to go through the full process. And especially if we're dealing with low energy refurbishment, which we should be dealing with because of the very ambitious target we have by 2050. We have to admit that most of homeowners lack the skills to set up, implement, and finance ambitious projects, and they do have little incentive to build their capacity. You can consider that maybe they will conduct one or maybe two refurbishment in their lifetime. And so there is little incentive to become fully skilled for doing this. And obviously the level of complexity increase with multiple ownership, so in the condominium sector in particular, or when the homeowner face energy poverty. We can take an analogy with wedding planners. A wedding for the bride and grooms is one single logically connected project, as is home renovation, and yet it involves a large number of non-coordinated actors. You have to deal with many different professionals. You have to deal with a caterer, with public authorities, with religious authorities, hotels, travel agencies, and so on. And for them, there is maybe little interest in coordinating. And for the bride and groom, there is little interest to build capacity. Normally, you don't you don't wed that many often in your life. So there is value in proposing a coordinated offer, an integrated offer to simplify the life of the bride and groom in that case. And the same goes for home renovation. There is value in coordinating an integrated offer for homeowners. So the whole idea of the two topics I'm going to present is to reduce the burden on homeowners and take on tasks for which they are not well equipped. And so by doing this, catalyze the evolution of market practices by developing integrated home renovation services, where integrated has a twofold meaning. It means providing a package of services to homeowners to facilitate their life and decision to engage in renovation process. It should also be cleverly integrated the offer should be cleverly integrated in its environment, making best use of what is locally available in terms of local skills, in terms of local support schemes, and so on. We say home to emphasize on the sector that is targeted, so with a very specific logic in the private residential sector. Renovation because we're dealing with existing buildings and not new build, and services to emphasize on the nature of solutions to be provided to homeowners. So the first topic in that field is called integrated home renovation services. And here the point is to create or replicate such services, so such integrated home renovation services. The idea, as I said, is to reduce the complexity and simplify homeowners' decisions. So to help them, support them in their process, in their renovation process, and help them go through the process, simplify their decisions. As I said, the idea is to make the best use of what is locally available, so make the best use also and be fully integrated in the local environment, so connecting the local actors and all actors in the value chain, and propose a package of services that makes best use of what is locally available. The idea is also to facilitate the access to existing support schemes, so to streamline this access to support scheme, especially where there is support available for specific target groups, for example, for vulnerable households. And also improve awareness and trust towards such integrated services. So making sure that the new offer is well promoted and understood by homeowners. The point of this topic is to develop then methods and support to build the expertise and organizational innovations needed to propose this service offer. So build the expertise of the team developing the integrated services, build a number of organizational innovations, notably in terms of contractual relationships between the different actors involved in the integrated services. Another point is to ensure cost effectiveness. So making sure also to moving from a project approach to a program approach, making sure we can optimize the approach and also using economies of scales to optimize the cost, and price transparency also for the services provided to homeowners, so making sure that the value of services is clear and well explained and justified to homeowners. What is particularly important, and I could not emphasize enough, is the importance of quality assurance and clear liabilities, dedicated consumer protection policies. So the idea is that to build homeowners' trust, there should be a clear understanding on who is responsible and accountable in case anything goes wrong. Do you have a clear liabilities established, and do the homeowners have someone to refer to in the case some things go wrong? And these entities that they refer to should be in charge of providing solutions for what went wrong. So quality assurance is particularly important to that respect. So this topic is actually a follow-up of a topic, existing topic under Horizon 2020. And there is one big difference with the former topic under Horizon 2020. In that case, we know demand that project reach some investment phase. So we expect from the project that the integrated home management services are in place by the end of the action and fully operational. But we also expect that some investment has been launched, so that the pilot phase has been launched. But to the contrary, at the difference of project development assistance, the topics that you will see later on in this session, there is no minimum volume prescribed for the investment pipeline. There is no leverage ratio or payback clause in case you're not reaching the sufficient investment. So in the end, all will end up in a competition between the different proposals to demonstrate their expected impact. So how much do you intend to achieve with your proposal during a pilot phase to test the services that should in any case be operational by the end of the action? And then how much do you expect to achieve in terms of investment triggered within the first year of operations? Related to the financing, shall financing offer financing services be included in the package offered to homeowners? We consider that all the proposals should consider and facilitate the financing of investment, but they do not necessarily have to carry a direct financing offer. So they don't have the integrated home management services that could be developed with this topic do not necessarily have to carry a standalone financial offer. Which can result actually particularly complex and also requires a number of regulatory and legal conditions. So not necessarily a standalone offer, but you have a number of services that could be considered. In any case, you should facilitate investment from owners. You can do so by supporting access in existing public grants. You can even facilitate the operation by pre-financing these public grants. And you can also work jointly or in cooperation with retail banks to facilitate the access to a bank loan. So work with them on establishing some criteria to facilitate the access to bank loans. We demand in the topic description that the proposal should aim at economic viability ultimately meaning that not necessarily during the action, not even necessarily at the medium term, but that should be some kind of mindset to have in view some sort of economic equilibrium in the medium to long term. So the idea that you should consider a clear business model that may at some point in the future work without public support. So without subsidies to cover the running costs of the integrated home management services. No subsidy for running costs does not mean no subsidy for investment. So these are two very different things. If there are subsidies to support the homeowner's investment in energy efficiency, this is something else. Here we're only discussing the fact that the services provided by the integrated home management services should at some point aim at self-sustainability. We expect also the project to clearly communicate on their results. So mainstream their technical and organizational solutions. On the way, you will encounter a number of legal and regulatory difficulties. And so you should work on highlighting these difficulties, maybe proposing some solutions and overall improve the legal and regulatory environments. The proposal should also demonstrate a high degree of replicability and a clear intention, an action plan, even to communicate their experiences and results. So other experiences can build on these front runners, and so facilitate the replication of your approach by other market players at a given in the future. And also all proposals should foresee to cooperate with the emerging community of integrated home renovation services, which is a new topic that I will present just in a few minutes. Just to give some examples of existing integrated home renovation services, we've been supporting in the past under Horizon 2020, and even before that under Intelligent Energy Europe programs, the development of projects targeting the residential sector. And we have a number of quite successful experiences of such integrated services. So you could look at the existing project and maybe get some inspiration of what they've been doing and how you could develop your own services. I can, for example, mention the Innovate project, which was pan-European and developed some guidance on what this type of services could mean, some guidance also on how to establish this kind of services in a local context. You have Hauskunft in Austria, in Vienna, that is developing quite an interesting approach with good collaboration with existing services provider and existing professional in Vienna. Super Homes is particularly active in Ireland, and there are very interesting features among them. The work that they are doing with the construction sector's professional to build the capacity and make sure they deliver quality work and deliver and there are no poor workmanship. So to make sure that the offer is of high quality. We have Hola Domus in Spain as part of the Europace project, actually, which developed a full one-stop shop in the Olot in Catalonia and have some specific features related to financing. The Padova Fit experience in Italy is also quite interesting to look at, with a number of template contracts and simplify processes for homeowners to contact and contractualize with construction professionals. And we have also the Orphée project in France, which actually gather a number of local initiatives in France and work particularly on the notion of quality assurance and making sure that the initiative deliver quality work and build homeowners' trust. So if I move now to the second topic related to integrated home renovation services, the second topic, aims at building an EU community of practitioners. So the idea is to foster international collaboration and an incremental innovation among practitioners actively involved in integrated home renovation services. So we want local experiences that are already ongoing and working, developing their own initiative. We want them to have some space and some resources to discuss with other initiatives, share insights, build bridges between these different initiatives, and possibly converge toward best practices. Use economies of scale. So if one initiative in a given member state has already tackled quite satisfactorily a given difficulty, maybe it can be useful for others. There may be also a possibility to pool efforts, developing common tools, common approaches that could be of interest for the full community. The idea is to build bridges between existing initiative and to have to foster discussion between practitioners, also for the benefit later on of other initiatives that may emerge at a later stage. Number of topics could be discussed in this framework. Among the topics of collective interest, we mention a number of general topics, which is not an exclusive list. Other topics could also be addressed in this framework. So the idea to discuss, for example, the best strategic positioning for the integrated home renovation services, the possible business models, also related to the comments I've made on the idea of reaching economic viability at some point. So what is the best options in a given environment, and what are the possibilities to develop and maybe reach some sustainability for the services. Work also jointly on methodologies and tools. So maybe some joint developments could be considered, or sharing of best practices from one initiative to the other. Maybe discussion around the skills and especially the skills from the construction sector's professionals, and highlight maybe the needs for training and the possibilities to include some training contents in collaboration with training organizations. Another main point of discussion could be on how to deal with market actors and especially actors from the construction sector, how to develop partnership, what type of partnership, what type of contractual relations. And again, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of quality assurance, liabilities, and consumer protection policies. The idea of this EU community of practitioners is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So by building this community, you have the possibility first, as I said, to harvest, analyze, and debate the findings from different experiences, and you have some structural environment, some resources to do to conduct these discussions. Also, this community is then sizable to develop consolidated and coordinated proposals that may be proposed to policymakers at different levels, at local levels, national levels, or even at European level. Some consolidated findings could emerge from these discussions and could be considered then by the relevant policymakers. Because in the end, all these initiatives, and in particular these this community is expected to contribute to regulatory and legislative processes, with the idea to support the development of further initiatives and facilitate, in the end, the upscales of low energy refurbishment and the upscale services to reach our target of climate neutrality by 2050. I will conclude with just a few recommendations on how to build a successful proposal. A good proposal always starts with a good analysis of the initial conditions. So where do you come from? What are the market conditions? What is the starting point, and what are the barriers to overcome? So it should be very clear in your proposals where you are coming from and what are your initial conditions. It should be also very clear what you intend to do, so a very clear and detailed concept. What do you aim at achieving, and also how do you intend to achieve this? So a good idea is not enough. You should explain how you intend to achieve this idea, and if so how do you intend to develop this and implement it concretely? One important point is that you involve the key market actors during the project, and even better at the proposal stage. So in the first topic on integrated home renovation services, you have to demonstrate how the initiative is very well integrated in its environment, and you will combine the different offers that may already exist and make best use of it. In the EU community of practitioners, you have to explain how this community exists, who will be part of this community, how they are engaged during the process and at the proposal stage. Also, we don't want to select proposals that would collapse just after the project is over. So there should be also a clear understanding and a clear explanation on how you ensure the viability of the solutions that are envisaged. So what are your medium and long-term impacts with the proposal, and how do you ensure that you reach viability, and what happens after the project is over. So clearly, where do you come from? What do you intend to do? With who and for how long? And how do you continue afterwards? So here you have some information on how to keep in touch with us, and I thank you for your attention.